Hi, I'm Lise Leblanc, therapist, author, and life coach. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm talking about how emotional immaturity in female covert narcissists show up. So specifically, I want to talk about how they can seem emotionally intelligent while masking their emotional immaturity. This is part 1 of 2, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Because my channel is aimed at helping men avoid and exit toxic relationships, I will focus specifically on female covert narcissists and how they can confuse you with their emotional vulnerability and gaslight you into thinking that they're an empath and you're the one who's lacking emotional capacity. So, why is this so confusing? Well, it's because a female covert narcissist can initially come across as being emotionally intelligent. She's usually very good at reading people, picking up on things like body language, tone, and subtle emotional cues. So she quickly figures out what you need, what makes you tick, and how to manipulate your emotions to get you to give her what she wants. But this doesn't mean she has high emotional intelligence. In fact, covert narcissists are emotionally stunted, and I will explain why. But before we dive in, let me just quickly explain what emotional intelligence is. It includes things like self-awareness, the ability to regulate your emotions and empathize with others, and also being able to create and maintain healthy relationships. Narcissists don't have any of these abilities. Instead of emotional intelligence, they rely on a survival mechanism. So they use charm or vulnerability to reel people in, and once they've got you hooked in and you're emotionally invested in them, they quickly shift gears into manipulation mode and use you as a tool to satisfy their own needs. Now, keep in mind that it's not only narcissists who lack emotional intelligence. There are many people who struggle with this, whether that's due to their upbringing, trauma, other mental health issues. But in order to qualify for a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, a person must meet certain diagnostic criteria. And to learn more about this, please click on the link above. Okay, so in no particular order, here are the first 5 signs that a female covert narcissist has a low EQ. Number 1 is the lack of self-awareness. Female covert narcissists can appear super self-aware. They may be open about their flaws or their trauma. Maybe they even seem self-reflective or self-depreciating. But the truth is that their self-awareness is shallow and self-serving. It's more about getting sympathy, validation, and maintaining their victim identity. This act of being self-aware can also be used to disarm you so that you share your vulnerabilities, which will later be used against you. And they also use this to rush emotional intimacy and get you invested in them and their problems before you even really know them. Now, don't get me wrong, it's completely normal and healthy to share your struggles with your partner when the time is right. But be cautious when someone opens up to you too much or too soon. And another thing to look out for is when they seem to be aware of their problems, but are not actively doing anything to change or improve. They're not interested in finding solutions. And if this is the case, you will probably realize that their so-called self-awareness is simply a performance designed to recruit you as an enabler to support their victim identity and meet their insatiable emotional needs. Number 2 is a lack of emotional accountability. Generally speaking, narcissists cannot admit when they're wrong, they don't own up to their bad behavior, and they feel like they shouldn't have to face consequences for their actions. Instead, they're always denying, deflecting, and pointing the finger in a different direction. It's always someone else that's to blame, and that's even when they're clearly in the wrong. But where a female covert narcissist really shows her low emotional intelligence is in her inability to take responsibility for her emotional reactions and how it affects others. Instead, she expects you to walk on eggshells and be her emotional punching bag. Now, obviously, it's healthy to make an effort to be aware of your partner's emotional triggers and to support them when they're upset. But there's a big difference between being emotionally available and supportive and being held hostage by your partner's unchecked emotions. So if your partner refuses to take responsibility for her nasty emotional outbursts and then on top of that blames you or someone else for it, then it's a sign that she is lacking emotional intelligence. And this can leave you feeling like you're to blame for things that are really not your fault. Number 3 is her lack of empathy. Female covert narcissists are often exceptionally good at pretending to care, which makes it seem like they have high emotional intelligence. So they might acknowledge that you're upset, but any concern they show is shallow and self-serving. When you need real emotional support, instead of comforting you, you'll be invalidated or blamed. Even if you've been her emotional rock for years, the minute you need something that inconveniences her, she will pull away unless helping you makes her look good or puts her in the spotlight. Then it might be a different story. Her empathy is transactional, designed to make you feel indebted to her. She'll remind you of everything she did for you as though you haven't done a million things for her already. Number 4 is the inability to regulate her own emotions. A female covert narcissist has little to no ability to regulate her emotions on her own. Instead, she relies on other people, typically her partner or main source of supply, to soothe her when she's upset. So rather than dealing with her own negative emotional state and engaging in healthy coping strategies, she'll quickly position you as the one who must fix whatever problem she has immediately. She expects you to drop everything to provide her with the attention and validation she wants on the spot, and if you won't or can't make her feel better in that moment, she will accuse you of neglect, withhold affection and sex, make you feel like you're failing her in an epic way. And that's because your role in her life is to be responsible for her emotional state, and this is an impossible task. Unfortunately, after the love bombing phase is over, you'll be mostly caught between her anxiety and anger, and you'll be bending over backwards trying to keep her from spiraling out of control emotionally. You will feel like a failure because no matter how much effort you put in, it won't be enough. Her emotions are never stable and her emotional needs are never met for very long. And so this job of trying to regulate her emotions leaves you feeling discouraged and drained. Number 5 is her inability to regulate her self-esteem. A female covert narcissist may seem confident on the surface, but she is emotionally dependent on getting constant attention, praise, and admiration from others. And when she doesn't get it, her self-worth crashes and she can be hit with a huge shame storm. So she's always relying on external sources to prop up her self-esteem. Okay, so that covers the first 5 signs of emotional immaturity in a female covert narcissist. But it's important to remember that we all have struggles sometimes with certain aspects of emotional intelligence. What sets a narcissist apart is the severity and consistency of these traits and behaviors and the degree of emotional damage they inflict on others. So if you're feeling trapped, manipulated, or abused in your relationship, please consider reaching out to a therapist in your area who specializes in narcissistic abuse recovery. And if you're not ready for that yet, please check out my toxic relationship recovery program that I linked in the description section of this video. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because in part 2, I'll be giving you 5 other signs of emotional immaturity in a female covert narcissist. And to learn more about the toxic tactics of a female covert narcissist, please click on the link above.